Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we are discussing Eckhart Tolle's A New Earth, Awakening to Your Life's Purpose. And it's a book that has never gone out of style since it first came out in 2005. I'm guessing it is seeing a resurgence here in 2025, given that Oprah named it as the 110th pick to her book club. And it's only the first book that she's picked twice, the first time being in 2008. So given that, and given that it's the 20th anniversary of the book, I thought it would be a good opportunity to kind of share how it entered my path and how it was kind of a critical book as I was stepping onto this path of transformation. So before we begin, as always, I am Tina Moody, and I am the author of A Spiritual Awakening of an Analytical Mind, which is a guide for people like me who are just stepping onto that path of self-discovery. I am also the sharer of my Monday morning newsletter that comes out each and every Monday morning, and you're welcome to subscribe here. And it's the only newsletter that I send out in that way. And I guess now I can call myself a content creator here on YouTube, where I am sharing books that have entered my path and, left an impact, I guess, on this journey, as well as some of my life's adventures that may seem right to share. So I hope you will subscribe, and let's get started. First, let me explain a little bit of how this book kind of entered my world. I don't remember precisely how I first came to know of it. Obviously, it had been around for a while, and somehow in my research, I found these videos between Eckhart and Oprah that were done in 2008. So the book came out in 2005, and these were done in 2008, and they were chapter by chapter discussion between the two of them, along with some like call-ins from different people who were reading the book and were fans of Eckhart and the message that he was putting out there. And it was really beyond what my knowledge base, to be honest with you, or what I had considered, because I was living somewhat of an unconscious life and kind of reactionary to what the world brought to me. So, I started listening first. I didn't have the book. I started listening to the videos and was really kind of taken back by some of the concepts that he has in the book. And I was painting one of the kids' bedrooms at the time, so the multitasking probably wasn't ideal for that, and I'd have to rewind a little bit, but it really got to me. And of course, over that 10-week span, I then purchased the book, and it may seem somewhat backwards to do it that way, but it really made it more digestible for me, having heard what they had to talk about, to hear even the questions that some of the people had posed, and then for me to read the book. I think I would have had to probably read it 2 times through right out of the gate, but it definitely made it more digestible. It opened my eyes to things that I may not have considered in the past, and kind of highlighted how I was walking my path, that I wasn't being fully conscious of things. So I became a fan. I will reread it probably multiple times in my life. I think it's one of those few books out there that you can put on the short shelf of things that maybe every couple years or 2-3 years, as you're progressing in your journey and evolving, that you might want to pick up, because you'll gain and garner different bits of wisdom from it. Just a real-time fact check on myself. You can find those videos that I just mentioned on YouTube on the Oprah Winfrey Network, so the OWN, and they were actually done in 2014. So there's that information. You can go right on there and find them, and I would recommend it. It's been a few years since I have watched them, probably coming up on 8 years or so, but I'm sure they're just as relevant today as they were then. And for that matter, there's probably more out there too, so feel free to go to there. This video is more as somebody that was just stepping on, and I wanted to share this because it did have an impact, and I'm not trying to be the expert of it, but more just give you an overall insight into it. And with that, why don't we go into what the chapters are? There are 10 chapters in the book. The major themes of A New Earth. If you were to ask somebody on the street, like what the book was about, they would probably tend to talk about ego and being present. And for that matter, I haven't read the book yet, I have to be honest. It's been sitting here in my pile. But his first book, The Power of Now, came out, I think, a few years before 1999. So this came out in 1999, and A New Earth came out in 2005. So I'm sure there's a lot of nuggets in here further as far as the now or the present. And then everything's intermixed, so it's in there as well. So anyway, let's talk about the 10 chapters real quickly, and to give you an idea of what Tolle discusses in the book. So chapter 1 is the flowering of human consciousness, and with key topics such as the arising of the new consciousness and the urgency of transformation for humankind. He moves on to really dig into the ego over a few chapters. So in chapter 2 is titled The Current State of Humanity, and this is where he sets kind of the groundwork of explaining ego to us a bit, so that we can dig deeper into it in further chapters. Chapter 3 is called The Core of Ego, and here Tolle digs into the kind of mischievous nature of ego and how it can attempt to direct us in life for good or bad. Chapter 4, he gets into, it's called Role-Playing the Many Faces of the Ego, which gets into the labels and roles that we kind of stick on our forehead a bit. And he does give a bit of focus too on us parents, and how that label plays out. Then shifts over, and it all evolves, right? So we're already to chapter 5, which he terms as the pain body. And he offers really an eye-opening take on what he terms as the pain body, the energy form within all of us that is made up of emotion versus our thinking brain or thinking minds, and with its intelligence directed primarily at survival. And so oftentimes that can stir up a more negative side of us, because we become a little bit more desperate when we're in survival mode. And so from there, he breaks down to a chapter 6 called Breaking Free, which teaches us to break free from that pain body with awareness and staying present enough to notice it within ourselves when it's activated. Chapter 7 is titled Find Who You Truly Are. With the recognition of our ego through the last few chapters, we get into finding out who we truly are, kind of outside of all those labels that get placed on us. We also get into the present state, or as he calls it, the now, and the importance of residing in that state versus in the past or the present. Chapter 8, he moves into the discovery of inner space, where he directs us to find our inner peace or our inner space, not in being unconscious, but in being conscious, being present, in finding that place between thoughts, or oftentimes that place between breaths. Chapter 9, he gets into inner purpose, where we learn that we all have an inner purpose, and it's the same for everyone, and that is to awaken. And it is the purpose of humanity. Awakening is the shift in consciousness where thinking and awareness separate, and that it's more of a process than an event. Like, we can't just plan to awaken. Like, it's over time, we evolve through it and continue to evolve through it as well. And then the final chapter is the name of the book. Here's the book. I'm like, I lost the book. The final chapter is A New Earth, and that's moving from our inner purpose to that of the universe, in essence. The inner purpose of the universe is to bring consciousness of the world into the world of form, and thereby transform the world. So an awakening of humankind through, as he terms it, acceptance, enjoyment, and enthusiasm. And, that was a quick summary of what the book is about, or what each chapter is about. It really is a spectacular book. And as I mentioned earlier, it is one that I will pick up and reread throughout the years, I think, every, whatever it may be, 2, 3, 4 years, as a reminder, but also to be at a different spot with it as well. So I thought I'd share with you a few points that kind of really struck home for me as a first-time reader. And that's really at the end of, I was new to the path. I watched the Oprah Eckhart, videos, and then I read the book. And I would say the biggest takeaway for me was engaging and learning or having a new awareness around ego. The last time I really thought about ego in such a way was, Psych 101 in college, as a core class in college. And I'm guessing I probably learned more in this book in those few chapters than I retained from back then. So it was really, really good reminders. And the biggest helpful part of that for me was taking on that observer role, like removing myself from situations and observing it so that I could remove the emotion from it and could see it for what it was. And I haven't mastered that yet, but I have a much stronger awareness of it, and I can course correct much more quickly. To the point, this made me laugh. Just a few days ago, I was having a discussion with somebody whereby I would have had a vastly different reaction a few years ago with the same conversation. And, something was said, we'll just say, and I was able to, instead of reacting, I was able to be up here and see it and pause and alter and not react and more just smile. Now, I am going to disclose that I took the breath to react and lash back, but that little pause was just enough moment for a smile to come across my face to realize how completely delirious the comment was, and that it truly didn't warrant the energy from me to comment back. And once I finished that conversation, I kind of chuckled to myself. So I can't take full credit on that, but that's probably the quickest course correction. It literally happened in the breath where I was going to react. So that's one example, but it made me laugh. Another point for me was throughout the book, there was constant reinforcement of how vital it is to stay in the present or the now. And, that was a good reminder that as much as we can stay present and not live in the past and, regurgitate the past, and be it a mistake or a comment or a worry or whatever it may be, the healthier things going to be. And the more we don't engage with the anxiety of something that's going to happen in the future, the much better things will be. And it's actually helped my parenting in a lot of ways as the kids were going through whatever stressor of school and, through COVID and mass shootings and all that. There's a lot of different stressors in addition to the education part and the testing part and all that kind of stuff. So I'm thankful for that skill and awareness that I was able then to use in my parenting. So I would say that was a great one for me to pick up on in the moment when I was reading that, because I was newly divorced too. And so that changes your parenting too. And, we just need to remember that, or at least for me, it was a good reminder that every day we wake up with new choices that we can make. We don't have to be that same person that we were yesterday or even an hour before. And I should probably read The Power of Now that I say that. And then, although the book is full of a lot of juicy nuggets, the last one that I'll mention is our purpose. And we start on this path, and the little overachievers that we are want to task it to death, right? We want to be like, what's our purpose? And I still go through that and have this battle with myself. And I really appreciate him talking in chapter 9, as I had just mentioned, talking about the inner purpose, and that how we do all have that same goal. And really at the belly of it, it's, having love and light and kindness and compassion out into the world. And if we all lived in that way, how beautiful a place it would be. So I appreciated that discussion. And then the discussion of kind of the outer purpose, where as individual little unique snowflakes, we can find what it is that we are going to do to contribute even more in some way. And I appreciated that as well. And that's where I have to be careful of not tasking something to death, because it's a good reminder that if we don't have that inner purpose, then we're never going to be fulfilled on that outer purpose. So before we jump into thinking we're going to have a spiritual based business of some sort, we got to get our act together a little bit on the inner purpose and really live from that way of being. So that was, that one hit me as well as a great learning experience. And that's a wrap on what I want to share today. The reason that I really want to share this book, even though it's probably been overdone, is that I just want to give you an honest explanation from somebody that read it as I was stepping onto this path. A lot was over my head. I digested some. The nuggets that needed to stick, stuck. I think, again, you can reread it and garner other things from it, but it was really a book that seemed important. And I try to intuitively listen sometimes when even a book that I read a long time ago seems like I should do a video on it. So I hope this is helpful in some way, or at least gives you an idea of what the book is about. And then watch those videos before you buy it if you want, and that may get into a lot more detail. Again, they go chapter by chapter. Before I leave you, I want to share a quote from the book. I didn't do that today, and I normally do. So I'm going to give one that is a good representation of the book itself. And so here we go. In fact, at the heart of the new consciousness lies the transcendence of thought, the newfound ability of rising above thought, of realizing a dimension within yourself that is infinitely more vast than thought. You then no longer derive your identity, your sense of who you are, from the incessant stream of thinking that in the old consciousness you take to be yourself. I lost my place. What a liberation to realize that the voice in my head is not who I am. Who am I then? The one who sees that, the awareness that is prior to a thought, the space in which the thought or the emotion or sense perception happens. And I thought that was a really good summary of it all. And then I had one more that my notes, I have to say, I did go back and reread it before I videoed, but my note says one more, brutally honest. So seems appropriate that we share it. Page 26 and 27. Okay, this is a surprise to you. At 54 and on hormone blockers, sometimes my memory is a little choppy. So let's see this is gonna be fun. Okay, the quicker you are attaching verbal and mental labels to things, people, or situations, the more shallow and lifeless your reality becomes. And the more deadened you become to reality, the miracle of life that continuously unfolds within and around you. In this way, cleverness may be gained, but wisdom is lost, and so are joy, love, and creativity, and aliveness. They are concealed in the still gap between the perception and the interpretation. Of course, we have to use words and thoughts. They have their own beauty, but do we need to become imprisoned in them? And that is Tolle in a nutshell as well. So that's a wrap for me today. Thank you for joining me. I hope you found it fun, entertaining, minimally educational, and I hope you will come join me again. I think I am going to go back to incorporating some little adventure videos now that I am back healthy and able to do some adventures. I thought I would share kind of the cool things that come up when we do go on adventures and get out in nature. So I hope you'll join me for that as well, and I hope you'll subscribe. I appreciate it more than you can imagine. Thank you all, and be well and keep stepping forward.